Welcome to What's New in Life Sciences, Episode 3. I'm Andy Barrow, I'm the Associate Director for the Life Science sector, and this week's episode will focus on a little bit more about why or how our division might be able to help you. So whether it's a niche profile need, or whether it's project capacity, or the fight for talent in general, or that general business growth or keeping up with the competition, there's a variety of reasons why you might need an interim specialist within the life science sector. And I'll walk you through a little bit more detail about how we can help you, but also to begin with some of the key challenges that yourselves and your industry as a whole face right now. The main challenges in finding talent right now range from the actual, as it's phrased in industry, the war for talent in general. So the competition has become even more fierce than ever before. The retention of talent or the retention of knowledge, less prevalent when it comes to a freelancer. I guess the flip side of that would be not having the relevant knowledge brought in-house, and that links to another main challenge would be access to that talent pool. And one of the reasons why we find that access is the top professionals are less and less active in the market. They tend to be more on the market. They'll find vacancies through connections, old colleagues, referrals, industry knowledge and know-how. So in the end, that presents a situation where competition becomes ever more challenging. The need for talent becomes ever more challenging, and the overall face of globalization means we've got a smaller talent pool and a harder way to find them. In general, the competition within the life science sector, or as we banner it within Amoria Bond, the overall advanced engineering space, these professionals are niche and they're in high demand and there's strong competition. So you're going down a road where there's less and less skilled individuals, but more and more demand for those individuals. Not only that, if you do find them, you've then got to try and convince them that you're the place to be, or that your project is the one that can add value to their resume. According to some statistics from the European Employment Services, employment for R&D and engineers in particular is expected to increase by a further 15% by 2030. That means that by that point there'll be approximately over 4 million jobs open within the engineering and research space. And the backdrop of the challenge I've just mentioned around hiring, that presents an interesting challenge for you and your competition. Speed is the name of the game. And when we say that, we mean either speed in hiring in general, because quite often when there's an interim resource gap, you need that person on an urgent basis. The other angle of speed is the ability to get them up to speed quickly, them adding value in a speedy fashion. So those two things in combination, in light of the challenges we've just referred to, means that companies need to look at it in a different way, and that's where some of the ways Amoria Bond can provide insight, consultation can really help you. Whether you hire freelancers or not, typically, there is an ever-present need, particularly in the life science space and the advanced engineering space, for an awareness and openness to hire interim niche resources. One area where this can be prevalent in light of some of the key challenges we discussed today and that need for speed and that war for talent is the idea of your mid or long-term strategy versus your short-term tactic. So some clients will work with, they're not necessarily a traditional hire of freelance needs or a common hire of freelance and interim specialists. But because of these short-term tactics, that might be the road that will give them the best advantage in the short term based on their resource gaps. So our sectors and the sectors we could help you across cover in short, food, pharma, medical device. What we really mean by that is anything across the FMCG, CPG space to traditional pharmaceutical, medicinal drug development, all the way to medical device and biotech. Beyond that, the wider elements of that where we might be able to help will be across supply chain, packaging, demand, that touch on across all those industries with an overarching theme of advanced engineering. So the types of roles we've filled could be a quality and compliance specialist for a food manufacturer, a new CapEx project engineer for a food development company. It could be a new production facility, and therefore they need somebody with a specialist need within CapEx, within the pharmaceutical and drug development space. So across these industries, within advanced engineering, quality, supply chain, and on the edges of that, clinical research, these are where we can typically help a client. One thing we would always look to do in the start of that, though, is understand what your need is best, and based on that we would advise whether we'd be the best person to help you. So this isn't a one-stop shop. We're a specialist consultancy where we would advise you accordingly whether we can help you, not that we can help you. So why Amoria Bond, and how can Amoria Bond help? Over the last 8 to 9 years, we've placed close to 500 project consultants. We've worked in around half a dozen countries through the Benelux, the DACH region, the Nordics. We've been involved in over 200 projects. We've worked on a variety of roles from SME all the way up to some of the major blue chip established brands across the food, pharma, medtech sector. One advantage of working with Amoria Bond, as I mentioned earlier, in regards to the need for speed in the marketplace, is how we can act and how we operate. We can typically fill a freelance assignment over a 10 to 14 day window, subject to the client's demands, availability situation. We normally work to what we call a 5-3-1 methodology. So typically speaking, what we'd look to do is submit 3 to 5 resumes. Of those 3 to 5, ordinarily 3 would be a strong enough match to take forward to interview. And typically speaking, from 3 advanced engineering professionals within this space, our client would normally find a suitable individual to help them with that resource gap. Another advantage of working with Amoria Bond is the experience level. Around 50% of the division have in excess of 30 years combined recruitment experience across various markets, countries, and some of the types of vacancies we've outlined before in some of the key clients within these sectors. One of the biggest advantages of working with Amoria Bond, and where we might be able to help, is the fact that we work it's almost simplistically to a transparent level where it's an ongoing communication process, where we look to put in place project milestones, and these milestones can be as simple as the first step being a detailed brief on what you need. The second step can be a CV feedback moment. We can map an interview process based on your timelines. So one of the advantages of working with Amoria Bond is we treat it like a project so that it helps your diary, your urgency, and again links back to that demand for talent and the speed in the marketplace. At Amoria Bond, whether we are successful or not, whether we've got the right candidate or not, you'll know it. So there's an ongoing dialogue via progress reports, market information, and analysis of what we're uncovering to be able to help you best fill your role. And together we can tailor and sculpt the need and the profile so that we can identify the right talent that's available on the market at that time. So in summary, we've seen the problems, whether it's the fight for talent, the finding the talent, the niche nature of these specialists, and we've highlighted some of the areas where maybe there's solutions, whether it's the speed, whether it's the service, whether it's the milestones, whether it's just the communication channel. So either way, we think we're well placed to help you, and we'd love to hear more from you. And that's all for today's episode. So thanks for joining me. If you've got any questions, please reach out to me or the team. You want to learn more, don't hesitate to get in touch, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.